Hey, this is Frankie from the Royal Belgian Beer Squadron, and you should totally check in the Scene World podcast.
Hey, it's the Scene World podcast. My name is AJ, and that is Jörg over there in Germany.
Hi, AJ over there in USA.
Here in the USA, a place that is definitely not undergoing an armed insurrection
No.
of white nationalists.
But hey, you are Biden now.
Not yet.
Isn't that?
Not yet. We've still got like another week for things to break hideously. And
right.
and I don't doubt that things can get worse because it was like, wow, 2020 sucked. And then 2021 happened, and 5 days into it, there's a dude in a freaking Viking helmet in the Capitol building.
But hey, we released five episodes in the last month.
Yes, we did, and I am frazzled.
We caught up.
Yep.
Our backlog.
Yeah, yes. In a minute, we are beginning a new backlog. And we'll be talking to
Denis Karimani, also known as Remute.
Yes, and some astute listeners and or watchers may know that we've mentioned him in the past, and we've shown some of the swag that we've received. But
I didn't get.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you didn't get anything.
Yes, was lost in the post.
Oh man!
I'm waiting for the replacement to be shipped. But this time with insurance and tracking, I was told.
Okay.
How about news?
Yes, so news. Anyway, what we were saying was that we're going to be talking to Remute in just a minute. Before that, though, there's a bit of news that we have to cover. I've actually got a few bits. I'm going to start with the release from our very own Nick Vivid of CCGMS 2021.
Nice.
He's made a new version of CCGMS. The final what he says is his statement that goes along with it is, this is my final version of CCGMS. I found all the bugs I've been able to find and added all the features I wish to add, and will no longer be maintaining this program or running the support BBS for it after life. He's including the source code in the download link, in case anyone wants to take it over and add more features. And it is the best damn version of CCGMS
of course.
His version, the last one he made, the CCGMS Ultimate, was already the best version of CCGMS that I ever used. Just because, and I'll give you reasons for this. One is, it supports, aside from the fact that it supports the Wi-Fi modems and super fast transfer rates, up to 38K, like good speed. Aside from that is the fact that it uses the REU, the RAM expansion. So instead of having, normally you'd have this file in memory, and then you would get like a paltry little bit of buffer. And I've got a ton of buffers from boards way back in the 90s and late, whenever I was calling. And they get pretty big, but they're not that big. Whereas this, you get a full 64K of buffer because it's using the REU to store that. Nice. And another interesting thing is that it is NTSC and PAL fixed. And you'd think to yourself, why the hell would a terminal program need to be NTSC fixed? And it's because the user port has timing issues. It needs to be, you need to be compatible with that. But yeah, so it's awesome. It's stable, which is something that I can't say for older versions of CCGMS. It's just, yeah, I love it.
It's Nick Vivid stuff.
Yes.
What else did I say?
Yep. It uses Swift. You can do Swift Link. It'll let you use the ultimate the Ethernet connection in Ultimate 64 or whatever. Yeah. It's a very awesome thing. And if you call boards, which you should, then you should download it, and we'll put links to where you can get that down below.
Nice.
Also, since this was CCGMS 2021, and 2021 just started, and along with 2021 also started the MSX 2021 Dev Contest. That began.
Nice. Development contest.
Yes,
nice.
That began on January 1st. The deadline to submit entries is August 31st. So
enough time.
Yes.
Enough time.
So this is for games for the MSX, which again the MSX was a Z80 machine running at about 4 megahertz. It had a AY 38910 or whatever sound chip, 16K in memory. It was a machine that existed, and last year when they did it, it resulted in 21 entries, 21 brand new games for the MSX.
Nice.
So that is now in effect. If you're into the MSX, if you like using the computer or coding on it especially, again, the deadline is August 31st, and then the results will be made public in October. So there's quite a bit of time before, to get working on it. So, chop.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. You got anything?
Well, I got Papillon running. Because
yeah, you were having problems with that, weren't you?
Yeah, I had to buy a Mega Drive 2 because my Mega Drive 1 is incompatible with Papillon.
But I thought somebody else also had a similar machine as you, and it also had issues.
Yes, it was
or
Denis.
It didn't have issues. It didn't have issues, rather.
He didn't have issues. Remute didn't have issues.
Yeah.
Despite he had the same model.
Yeah.
And I just exchanged an email with Analog. Analog made the Mega SG, which is an FPGA-based recreation of the Mega Drive. And
what's it called?
Mega SG.
Okay.
And I asked them, are you aware that Papillon doesn't work on your machine? And are you working on it? And they wrote me, they are aware, look out for firmware updates in the future.
Cool.
Yeah. Because Watermelon Games is like all non-original consoles are emulation crap. Not supported.
How is the Mega SG?
I don't have one. I have the Super NT instead.
Oh, okay. So
which is the Super Nintendo version of that console. Because it has this Director's Cut edition of Turrican.
Yeah,
from Factor 5. And that is why I bought the whole console. Because it's the only way to get the game.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now because you just mentioned it, and as we're talking, I'm looking up links to put in the podcast description.
Makes sense.
It looks really, really nicely made, honestly. And this is the Mega SG, the Sega version. Now you've got the
Super NT, the
Super NT, right? Got it. And that also looks pretty damn amazing.
I know. Well, the price tag is pretty damn amazing too.
Yeah, but I mean,
in a negative way.
But I mean, for what you're getting, I mean, this is a thing you can plug this. You plug the cartridges in. This is a fully functional. It's not even. We talk about how they're coming out with the minis and the kind of the reboots and whatnot.
The difference here is it has continued. It has continued firmware updates development, which all the other consoles don't have.
Right, and it also the other consoles, they don't have like a floppy drive or something. Like the 64 Maxi which is like the full-size C64, doesn't have a floppy drive. It doesn't have a connection for a floppy drive.
Right.
You know, it's a self-contained thing.
Yeah.
Whereas
But
this,
the-
this has given you the ability to plug in your Genesis or your Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, but you can't really compare it because AT games, they made Mega Drives with cartridge ports.
Right. Okay.
But as I said, those are emulators, not FPGA based.
Mhm.
And anyway, the big difference here between the Retron 5 and Retron 7 and all the other consoles is that the analog consoles have continued firmware update support.
Right.
That means if you get a new aftermarket game like Peprium or Unholy Night for Super Nintendo, which was the first commercial game for the Super Nintendo after 22 years of no Super Nintendo games, and it didn't work.
Well.
And after 4 months, they released a firmware update.
Yeah.
Approximately half a year. So that means, in contrast to all the other clone consoles, you can tell them, hey, this doesn't work. Please fix it, and they will fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big difference between the analog consoles,
right,
and what all the others are offering.
Interesting thing is that they you were talking about the price tag on it, and it's about $190, which isn't terrible considering what you're getting. They also have a pocket, a portable game thing, which I'm curious what that is. Everything is out of stock. Nothing is available, but
yeah, that's a common problem with analog stuff.
Yeah.
You have to buy it while it's in stock for pre-order, or you have to hit notify me when it's in stock.
The Pocket is compatible with the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance game cartridge library. And it looks, God, it looks nice.
Yeah, anyway, you're not buying it because it looks nice. You're buying it because of the firmware update.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know. Maybe I am kind of buying it because it looks nice. We don't judge. Whatever. No kink shame. But yeah, okay. So we're talking about Paprium.
Yep, we have been talking about Paprium.
Yeah.
So they are working on fixing it.
Okay. Okay, cool. There's a new version of Vice that's been released.
Oh, nice! Really?
As of Christmas Eve, yeah, Christmas Eve 2020, Vice 3.5 was released with a big list of changes. One of which is a more modern interface, and they've removed support for OS2 and Amiga OS because, you know, what are you gonna do? Few of the changes are that the emulator timing is directly driven by the host audio system device. So
whatever that means.
Well, that means that your computer runs at whatever megahertz your computer runs at. The emulator timing, I think, was sort of independent of everything else. Whereas now something like the audio device on your computer is going to run at a specific speed, right? So now the emulator timing is directly timed to the sound device of your computer.
I see.
Which should make it more. I would imagine that would get rid of some latency issues that you might find.
Nice.
Audio latency is much lower on all platforms, which was one of the major issues with Vice, was that the audio there was some latency with stuff like that. Second and third joystick buttons are supported. Mapping for the C64 joystick is there. It now emulates the LT kernel, CMD hard drive, RAM link, fixed improved native screenshots. It will. Oh, that's a biggins. One of the things that always drove me nuts about Vice is that if you take a screenshot in Vice, what it saves is invariably PAL aspect ratio.
Okay, didn't know that because I'm originally PAL.
Yes, which drove me nuts. There was a video I put on YouTube of the Q-Link demo running, and I realized afterwards that this isn't what it's supposed to look like because Q-Link was an American piece of software, and everything is sort of looking a bit squat and squared off. And that's because we're looking at the aspect ratio of PAL, even though I had the emulator set to NTSC.
Okay, yeah, the screenshot function doesn't care about it.
Right, it doesn't. It doesn't. It just gives you that square pixel stuff. So that's cool. That's cool. It says they fixed the light gun emulation.
Wow, I didn't even know they had light gun emulation in it.
Apparently they do. More realistic modeling of the floppy drive wobble. Added 4 possible additional SID chips for a total of 8.
Wow. If you ever need that.
Yeah. So we'll stick a link to where you can get that. I know a lot of people say that you should stick with older versions of Vice because of changes.
I never do.
I don't either. I use it so little that it's not worth it to me to stick to older versions. I guess in some instances, if you're coding or doing something, you want the older one. But for most coding and graphics work, I use the actual machine. I can't deal with emulation. Emulation I use just as a quick test or something just to see something. Otherwise I don't use it at all. So So yeah, I'm all about if there's improvements or whatever, I am totally down with that, and that makes me happy. So yeah, I'll download that immediately.
Nice.
So how about you? Got anything else?
Nope.
Oh,
that's
well,
me.
then I guess I'm continuing to talk.
Sure.
There's a new game for the 64. From Double G. It's Double G's very first game called Rabbit Runner.
Okay. Rabbit Runner.
So so you're a rabbit trying to eat farmer's crops, and I guess you're running away from him, and so you have to run down 3 lanes. It's an infinite running game kind of thing. You know that kind of stuff. That's big on mobile gaming. And you eat carrots and lettuce and a radish to get health. And then you get bonus points every time you clear a level. And it's a running down. You're just running and trying to keep away from the farmer forever and ever and ever while eating rabbits. And it is sort of almost obviously somebody's first game, but it's also cute and very retro in its cuteness. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It's very nostalgic for me because I look at it and it's like this is the sort of thing that I might have downloaded from Q-Link in like the 80s or 90s or whenever it was, because this is the sort of game that you'd find there, So we'll put a link to where you can get that.
And you said it's NTSC, or was that a mistake?
It looks like it's NTSC from what I'm looking at. I don't know where this guy came from, but maybe it isn't NTSC. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. The screenshot that I'm looking at looks like NTSC, but Oh no, it says the game was coded and tested on a PAL system, but NTSC works with the timing a little bit off. But they intend
that means not
right
perfectly fixed.
Right, but they intend to create a proper NTSC version in the future.
In the future,
I'm sure by the time we release this, somebody will have cracked it, and it'll be,
fixed.
Yeah, it'll already be fixed. So that's the thing.
The cracking scene is still active. Is this a commercial game?
No, it's not a commercial game. It's just somebody's game that they put out, and
okay.
It's somebody's very first game. Double G, whoever
nice.
Double G is, it's their very first game, and it's sort of like I said, it's obviously someone's very first game, but it's sort of also cute.
Nice.
Also speaking of games that are available, there is this news comes from Vintage is the New Old. I guess there was a game for the Spectrum, the ZX Spectrum, called Nixie the Glade Sprite.
Okay, never heard of that.
That came out in 2018. There is now a version coming out for the C64. And it looks like a pretty good. It's a nicely drawn and nicely produced game. And when you look at who did it, it's code by Anthony Sava, art and concept by Andy Johns, who did the original. It's going to be available as a digital download and a C64 cartridge. So that is pretty good. But yeah, it is. It looks good. It's a solid looking game, and I guess the Spectrum version was also a solid game.
Nice.
So we'll put again, link to that in the description. And finally, my last bit of news. Actually, I think that's it.
Nice.
That's all I got.
So let's jump to
Remute.
Remute.
Remute is over there. Let's take Remute off of mute. Let's unmute him. Also, Martin is here and is hanging out over there as well. I totally forgot to say that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not that good in starting this. So
Alrighty. So while our other co-moderators are drinking, I'm going to start here. So today we are having another musician interview, and this would be Remute, also known as Denis Karimani. Hello from Hanover, Germany.
Nice
Welcome
to meet you
to
and
the
nice to
podcast.
be here. Greetings.
Great. So, we actually talked to you because you have a special thing that you are known for. Basically, you are a techno DJ, right? And
Right.
you are releasing your stuff on special exotic media. One could say. Right.
So. Yeah.
So let's start right at the beginning. When did you start your music career, and why and how?
All right. So, as you said, I'm a techno DJ, and I've started making music around, it's now 20 years ago. In 2002, I had my first record. It's called Hypnokonsole or Hypnokonsole on German. And since then, I released a bunch of records on some old school techno labels like Trezor or Ladomat. And in 2008, I started my own label, which is called Remute, simply as that. And also made a lot of records on vinyl and some albums. But I think Remute 2.0 started at around 2019 when I began releasing my music on very uncommon media like cartridges. I think kind of reinvented myself 2019, which is quite a hard thing today because it seems like everything is invented already in electronic music, and you have so many possibilities, and coming up with something different is, it's a kind of journey.
And you also released it on floppy disks.
That's right. I had an album in 2017 called Limited, which was a hybrid release on vinyl and floppy disk. It included some mod files on the floppy disk because I'm still using trackers a lot for making music, and it was a very fun thing to make.
And is there a favorite system you're working on? Is it? Do you have a favorite? Like me, it's the Amiga, you know. So you made a lot of other stuff. Just want to make some. Perhaps you know this.
Okay.
It's your
nice
Super Famicom album.
Nice.
But as an Amiga fan, I want to know what is your favorite system.
Right. Well, when I'm using the tracker, I think my favorite system is still the Amiga 600 because it's a very convenient way of tracking, and it's still a lot of fun to do it on a real Amiga because for the feeling. But when I'm doing music for consoles like the Super Nintendo or the Mega Drive, I'm actually doing it on a PC and using Windows programs.
I mean, I'm not a tracker expert for mod files, but I think to remember that even the PC has some mod trackers available, right?
That's right.
So it's not Amiga exclusive, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a really convenient and cool thing called Openmpt for Windows. It's a kind of universal tracker where you can use various tracker formats like IT or mod or XM, everything in one program, and with the very slick user interface, very nice to use for Windows. And when you're going to make music for consoles like the Mega Drive or the Super Nintendo, there's a pretty cool tracker called Devilmask, which I'm using a lot. And these are my programs. I love trackers. I love trackers more than DAWs. Yeah.
Okay, but did you just there is a tracker on the PC called Renoise. So
yeah.
It's a hybrid too. It's a hybrid between a mod tracker and a DAW using VST instruments.
Yeah,
did you use this?
I'm using this for more, let's say, for more advanced tracks, which use VSTs, which use modern equipment. I prefer to use Renoise, of course. Yeah. Okay. Before using trackers, I was very much into vanilla DAWs like Ableton or FL Studio, but when you dive deep into trackers, then you don't want to go back anymore. In my case.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one thing I'm interested in. I mean, releasing music on Cartridge has been done by other musicians also, like Trominal on the Game Boy, or other people releasing a digital album on the NES. And the thing is that though Nintendo gave the agreement, they said like it would be strictly limited to only 50 units or something. So I wonder, as you also released it on the Mega Drive, was Sega different when you approached them and asked for permission? Were they more open-minded to more quantities or less limitations, restrictions? Or how did that work?
There were no restrictions at all because these are aftermarket projects which don't need to have a permission of Sega or Nintendo either. And so I didn't ask anyone for permission. And everyone is free to make his own projects for these consoles because it's not a pirate project. It's not a pirate copy of a game because it's a new project and you can do what you want. So
that means the others who asked for permission did it because they were afraid of consequences, probably.
I think so. Because also legally you don't have to fear any consequences because it's an aftermarket project with a system which has been reverse engineered by companies like Analog, for example, and there are no patents anymore, and so anyone can make games or music projects for it. There's no legal obstacles. No.
Good point. So,
Yeah.
so how did the brain work start? I mean, like, did you wake up someday and say it like, hey, let's release the next album on floppy disk? Or, I mean, how did you get the idea? I mean, the problem is that you have the thing like, of course you can get, you know, external floppy disk drives and so on, but now you have the problem that even many people can't read or listen to your album.
Well, to answer your first question, I think the process was quite organic. It was like I was using a lot of trackers, and I made a lot of mod files, and so I thought, how can I release them kind of authentically to be to get people in a special mood for listening. So I thought, like, let's do it on a floppy disk because that's the thing where mod files got distributed back in the days. And I think a very important point in listening to music is the mood and the feeling you can get the people in. And doing it via such gimmicks is a very nice little feature, which is not so unimportant. And that's the story behind Limited, for example, the album, which is a hybrid on vinyl and floppy disk. Same goes for the albums on Cartridge. I think I could just I had to wait to release the music also only on CD or on vinyl, but I think that wouldn't have been an authentic way, because I think when you're listening to Mega Drive music, the process of popping a cartridge in is also a big step in the music enjoyment, and so I had to do it this way.
Well, the thing is, third-party cartridges, especially on the Mega Drive and Super Nintendo in the last years, got some kind of negative press because of, you know, flash card adapters over-voltaging the system using cheap Chinese components, and then on the long run weakening the system and destroying it. So it must be difficult where in such a time to release such a cartridge anyway. It makes sure it's not harming the system.
Yeah, that's right. In the case of the Super Nintendo cartridge, it's a completely custom designed PCB. It's not a flash card in any way. It's completely custom designed by a guy from Sweden called Mr. Tentacle. He's very much into reproduction stuff and things like that. And he made a completely custom PCB board for my Super Nintendo project. And it's a very nice and well-balanced product, which of course didn't harm the console, and very happy with it.
So you were aware of the press surrounding that.
Yeah.
I mean, when Capcom re-released the the X-Men cartridges, they even put a line on it saying could cause fire. You know, and that's not a joke. They had to do that for legal reasons. You know.
Right. I'm fully aware of that, and it was very important when designing the PCB to have something safe for the user, and so we did it.
You know, I mean, there's this little mind change since the last couple of years where you say, okay, I rather try to not break it or repair it. Well, and 20 years ago, it was more like, oh, you can toss it. I will buy another one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The mind changed a bit.
Still,
here.
You don't want to pop in a cartridge and have your machine explode.
No, absolutely not.
Even if you can get a new one, it's not really the best outcome.
To listen to the music without having a fire in their flat.
Yeah.
And,
you can consider that like a light show that goes along with it, maybe, you know?
very spectacular in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as my I'm not a hardware expert, but I guess the problem was it would destroy the console over time.
Yeah.
Now as Martin had this hyper no, I forgot.
Superboy.
Superboy,
Yeah.
exactly. I forgot the name. Superboy clone. I wonder, was that a thing when you developed the cartridge to make sure it's working on clone system and not only on the original hardware by Nintendo?
Yeah, in this case, we wanted to make sure it has a very huge tolerance also for clone systems, which was a little bit easier to achieve than, let's say, for the Mega Drive album, which was very critical for clone consoles and didn't run on every clone console properly. But the Super Nintendo album is a project which really runs also on clone consoles. Yeah. I think it runs quite well. It has something to do probably also with the technology which is behind it, the music, how it is generated, and it's much more tolerant to run on clone systems than the Mega Drive. Yeah.
Okay.
So now we learn it's not that easy to make clone cartridges and releasing your own album nowadays because you have so much things to consider.
Yeah. I think it's a quite huge technological journey with a lot of pieces coming together. It's not only making music, it's not only tracking some music, it's also having a good team of a pretty good coder and also a pretty good engineer. And I was very happy to have this team and making the puzzle work.
It actually worked out well because I never had this Mega Drive release, but I saw videos on YouTube having the real experience with it, not just the music with the machine, because there I have to go back briefly a little bit because I wanted to agree with you, really have to agree that listening to music is a thing which nowadays is just becoming listening to some background noises. It's just opening a streaming thing and that's it, or just turning on the radio and that's it. It's not actually listening to music. It's just having it in the background.
Yeah, remember the days when you'd like lay back and put on a whole Pink Floyd album and just listen to the whole thing from cover to cover?
Yeah. And one thing which really got forgotten is that is a thing which came to my mind some weeks ago when I had a Sunday breakfast with my family and I asked my son to just get one vinyl and put it on the vinyl player, and he got there and said, yeah, which track? I said just start from the beginning. It's an album. Just try, because someone had an idea making this album. So he had this idea why to put this track on first place, putting the next track on second place, etc. And it's not that just having playlists with your favorite music or just having anything. It's just you get this feeling turning on this thing, getting it directly working, and then listening to it, and you had some work to do. It's a little bit like how do you say it? If you give a dog some foods, he's happy with it, and you get happy turning on the vinyl and putting the needle on. And in this case, okay, that's nice to have this little Superboy thing, but turning on your Super Nintendo on your TV set in background, playing start. It's a decision you make. Then you start making the decision. I will now listen to this track, and you will listen to it. And it's a thing people forgot, and it makes me happy, to be honest. It's making me happy because on the consoles, the music has just one more, how do you say, one more dimension. It's
yeah.
You know? And so I'm really happy to see this. And what I wanted to say, I'm really happy to see that you don't just get your mods playing there. That's the thing I can do too for me. But it's also on the Mega Drive, you have this Mega Drive stylish video sequences, rendered things, and on the Super Nintendo, this menu, which it's just only on the Super Nintendo. It's not a Amiga style looking thing, and that's awesome.
Indeed, I'm really happy you feel this way because I wanted to exactly achieve this, to have another dimension in the listening process, and I wanted to make something kind of rewarding for when you put out your Super Nintendo, when you have to pop in the cartridge. It's a little bit more work than clicking on a song on Spotify, and in the end, the user gets rewarded with something. Yeah, I don't want to say it sounds pretty probably too huge, but it's probably something more exclusive than having just something on Spotify. Yeah. It's a reward.
As we are international here and we have AJ in America, I wonder, how did you go with the timing issues, American, European consoles? How did you go about that? Did you even consider it, that it would play correctly if the album is played in America?
Yeah, that was a very important thing. We wanted to make it universal for every console, and we also designed the plastic case to fit also in the NTSC version of the Super Nintendo, because it's quite different, and you usually you can't pop in a Super Famicom or European Super Nintendo cartridge into an American Super Nintendo.
Really?
And yeah, they're quite different.
I did not know that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
They have different.
And it's the same with the Mega Drive too,
Huh.
to some extent. Yeah.
So we had to use a plastic shell that fits into an American console, and of course we also needed to have a program which properly plays on PAL and NTSC regions, and
Nice.
in order to achieve this, we had to code the player in a way that makes it run in the same tempo on all consoles. Because if we wouldn't put focus on this issue, it would I think it would run 10% faster on NTSC consoles if we didn't tweak this before. But it was very important to have the same experience worldwide. Yeah.
I'm amazed by how much brain work you put into that, because we spoke to other people before and like, I didn't know or didn't think about it. You know, like who cares?
Even we were just recently talking about how even most games back on the C64 and stuff in America, they would NTSC fix it to make it work, but they didn't actually fix the timing. So all the game music that I grew up with and all the demo music and stuff, it's all 10% faster than what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Because if we didn't fix this, it would run just faster, and I think some tracks wouldn't work in a fast way and would destroy the experience. So it was very important to fix this problem. Yeah, and as I said before, it was a kind of technological journey, and many pieces of a puzzle came together.
The weird thing is after you grow up hearing it, like, you know, played 10% faster, when you finally hear it the way it's supposed to be, it's like, no, it's too slow. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's how I feel every time I play summer games, you know, because here in Germany or Europe we heard it too slow, and we are known to that.
I feel like all the summer games is too slow, regardless of.
Yeah, I know.
You can't skip the intro sequence. Why can't you skip the intro sequence?
Yeah, I know. You are not a fan of the series. I know.
Winter Games is good. I like Winter Games. Winter Games is awesome. Summer Games is just a cobbled together mess.
So speaking of the C64, did you? I don't know. Did you ever release on C64 to this day?
Yeah, I had some tracks produced on a C64, actually on a C64 tracker for the iPad. I think it's called Vivid Tracker. It's a pretty cool thing. You can produce your own SID files there, I think, yeah. And so I produced, I think, 3 tracks for the C64 and made also a hybrid release on a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk.
Okay.
And bundled it together with the 7-inch. The release is called Computer Communication. It came out in 2018. Yeah.
I wonder, all those releases we are talking about, are they still available for purchase?
Techno-Optimistic for the Mega Drive is sold out. I don't think there will be another cartridge run of it. You can still buy the ROM file and the CD via Bandcamp. The Super Nintendo album is still available, and the C64 thing I just talked about is also available there on Bandcamp, all on my Bandcamp.
But not physically anymore.
The C64 and the Super Nintendo album are still available physically. Yeah,
Oh,
the Mega Drive
okay.
is sold out. I don't think there will be another run anymore.
Was it too complex to make this custom board and stuff? Probably for such a quantity.
Yeah, the quantities are limited. Let's say, yeah, they are not endless.
Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah. That's the problem. Interesting. So now I know what I can get when I have spare money left in the future.
Yeah.
Getting an album for the
Thanks
Super
a lot.
Nintendo. Yeah, it's interesting that somebody releases on a floppy disk. And I wonder, this 3.5-inch floppy disk release you said with the mod files on it, was that universally compatible with PC and Amiga?
Yeah, it was just a Windows formatted floppy disk with the mod files on it. It wasn't an Amiga floppy disk, and so everyone could purchase it and just swap the files over on your PC or Mac or Linux, whatever, and listen with your favorite mod program. Yeah.
So
I just want to update computer communication. The floppy disk version is sold out, but you can still get it as on vinyl.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about this. The floppy disk version is sold out. Yeah. The vinyl is still available. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No problem. Until today, I didn't even know about its existence. So, I mean, I know a lot of projects, but sometimes I'm even missing something, you know. So,
okay. I think it just sold out a couple of days ago, and I forgot about it. And sometimes I'm losing the view about my quantities a little bit. And
what is the which one is the one that's on floppy? The for the Amiga?
Yeah, it's called Limited. Yeah, Limited.
Okay, Limited. That is also sold out. You can get the
It's also.
I think everything is sold out except for the digital album, actually.
So, but
I'm sorry. The vinyl is still available.
Well, the good thing is, if you are lucky, you still can find good offer on eBay and something for diskettes. That shouldn't be a reason to I mean, there shouldn't be a reason to not re-release it.
Would you think about including like a disc image with the vinyl so that people can kind of grow their own?
I think I will either make a repress of Limited because floppy disks are quite easy to get on eBay, also newer stock. But the idea with attaching the mod files on the digital release is also quite an interesting idea. And I think there will probably most likely be a reprint of Limited, because it's much easier to reproduce.
If you really reproduce the floppy disk stuff, let me know, and I will be your customer for sure.
Yeah, because... I literally just went there. I literally just went to the site to buy it.
Yeah.
You see, hey. Yeah, we are real here. We are real.
That's right.
So, are there other projects you can talk about that you have in your head, or is that a secret?
And there are. I want to point out that on the Bandcamp there are a lot of albums, and there are a lot of vinyl available, and they're all like, we're not talking ridiculous prices. We're talking like €6, €7. for these,
awesome.
Yeah.
which is
Very important for me to not have ridiculous prices like some, and I also like to offer some reasonably priced shipping. That's also very important for me because I saw many labels who have like $5 vinyl releases, but $30 shipping price. It's just doesn't make sense, yeah. And so I like to offer some reasonably priced shipping too. And,
Oh geez. Okay.
Oh, it's good that
There's-
we are not live
There's a
here.
big lizard in
Oi.
the room.
Oh,
Not to take things off of off track here, but
So I'll use this time and start buying some of your releases on vinyl because it's just as I pointed out, the vinyl is my favorite media for music listening, and I asked my wife one day. I said that I personally would like to have the most important 1,000 vinyls of my music career in the basement. Not the basement, in the living room, and I got it done. So I will add some real vinyl now. in this moment. That's awesome.
somewhere.
Right, to answer your question, I'm always working on the next project. It's like I never rest really. I always have to work on something, and of course it's a secret because I don't want to spoil the fun. But one project I can tell you about is a bonus release for the Super Nintendo album. It's called The Cult of Remute Portable. It just came out for the Nintendo DS.
Oh yeah.
But not a cartridge for the Nintendo DS because it was quite impossible to make a real cartridge for the Nintendo DS. So we decided to distribute a ROM file on an SD card. Yeah.
really? Quite impossible? On the third-party music games?
Yeah, they are, but you can't mass produce them anymore. There are no new Nintendo DS games anymore, so you can't step into this business anymore. There wasn't a possibility. I had the possibility to work with some pirates probably from China, but I didn't want to do this because I think the quality of these cartridges is just low, and so we decided to just distribute a Nintendo DS file on a SD card. It was coded by a quite interesting theme guy called Revenant. Probably you know him. I think he's in Desire or in Resistance, probably, I think, the demo group. Mm-hmm. And made also some pretty cool levels for Doom. He's quite a lot into Doom WAT files. And he coded the player for Cult of Remute Portable, which is only a bunch of WAV files converted to the Nintendo DS format. But it's a nice bonus release for the summer, and quite happy I did it with Revenant.
That's very interesting. What makes me very excited is that there are platforms like the Nintendo DS, which is not that new but not that old, but we actually have more physical releases on platforms like the C64, more actual releases in big boxes on cartridges, on floppy disks, than for such new systems. That's crazy. We are living in crazy times.
Yeah, I think the retro aspect is probably quite important here because these little cartridges for the Nintendo DS just don't look so fancy. They look like common SD cards. They look like technology you still use today. But when you're dealing with big boxes or cartridges or floppy disks, they have this retro sexiness, and you just fall for it. And I think it's a pretty important aspect to have to deal with technology that isn't available anymore today.
Don't forget about tapes and the emergency pencil.
No, forget about tapes. Well, I mean, audio on tapes is fine, but don't be loading things off of tapes.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to admit I wasn't never a fan of tape. Also not tape releases or tape music releases, because when I'm using tapes, I don't know. It's probably just me. I think every time I'm using a tape, it happens that the tape gets destroyed from my cassette player.
Really? I never had a destroyed cassette in my life.
One of the things that people talk about with vinyl and with cassettes is that, you know, I had a copy of the Division Bell, it was a Pink Floyd album, on cassette. It was cheap. It was badly made. It was like this weird soft blue plastic. It was really crappy, and my tape deck ate it constantly. And so in the middle of one song, there's just a bloop, you know, because it's been crimped. But I listened to it so much that now when I hear the song, like you know, on an MP3 or over Spotify or whatever, it sounds wrong because I'm so used to hearing that blip in the middle. From that thing, and one of the arguments people had for this is that everybody's listening experience is a little bit different because of that, and that's something that's good. I can't stand that because there's something to be said for having a unique listening experience, but there's also something to be said for, like, you know, it's also, you should also be hearing it kind of in the way that the artist intended to, rather than, you know, with a missing half second or a little fart noise or something.
Well, probably I was lucky because I got a stereo in '92 with a digital cassette deck, so it would control the cassette to not act out.
Oh no! I mean, I had a good cassette deck. No, it was a cheap cassette. It was in like '95 or something. Towards the end when they stopped making them.
I see.
It was just I went through 3 of those things. It's like that cassette. The Division Bell was just badly made.
Because from our own Nick Vivid, the cassettes are still working.
Yes, I have not played my Nick Vivid cassette because I'm afraid of it getting eaten.
Well,
so I just look at it,
and I've played it a couple of times.
Okay,
so I guess it's fine.
Anyway,
well, stick to vinyl. That's perfect for me.
Yes, vinyl. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. When I was young, or when we all were young, vinyls were still called records, and it was called record player.
Yeah.
You know? So that's how things change, you know. Yeah. And just a few years ago, I was looking for a portable cassette player, you know, a Walkman. Yes. No, now it's called tape to USB converter.
Oh God.
I'm like, okay, I don't need this USB connector, but thank you.
Yeah.
So I just want to have one more question, because as we are sitting here, I just have to say, go to Bandcamp, buy some Remute products. I just did.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. How's your connection to the scene, actually? Because my first Remute experience was at the Revision Party 2018, where you had the DJ set, and I don't know if it was. I didn't think it was real Amigas. It was actually on PCs. Yeah,
it was simulation. Yeah.
But you also played a lot of, let's say, hits from the past. Like one of my all-time favorite mods called Altered States 2.
That's classic, yeah.
And I really forgot about this. And I was sitting there in this revision room, partying with people, and actually had this. We partied to your music, and all of a sudden I heard Altered States. I was electrified. I was.
Okay, nice.
This was my favorite moment of this party. And,
okay.
But beforehand, to be honest, I never heard of you. So So what's your relation to the scene, and are you planning doing new stuff scene related, not just making music for the let's say Bandcamp?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm quite well connected to the scene. Also member of TRSI, by the way.
And,
there you go.
But I'm really a huge admirer of the scene. I'm following the stuff since many years. I'm a huge fan of all productions, and my first revisions were like I went there as a fan and lover of the art people make, and over the time I got in touch with many sceners and many friends from the scene, and I think it's very inspiring to be a part of such events like Revision, because it's not only about the music, it's also about art in general. I think it's a mix of everything, and it just feels good to get lost into art for 3 days, and so I really much enjoy playing at events like Revision, because it's quite different than, let's say, playing at Berghain. Yeah, of course it's awesomely cool to play at Berghain, but it's only about the music and about having a blast at Berghain. But when you go to Revision, it's about the whole experience on many levels, like audio, video, disco, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you planning doing stuff now after Corona times next year? Hopefully will be new parties, better parties, bigger parties perhaps. Are you planning doing stuff there too?
Absolutely. As you said, I really hope there will be again real demo scene events, because I have to say the virtual events of the Revision and the other demo parties were awesome. They were very well organized. But I think the real experience is still the thing. Yeah. And I really hope that it will be again. And so I'm really into it. And of course, yeah, as I said, I'm also quite involved into TRSI. And I think there will be many interesting projects there. Yeah.
This is nice to hear. So hopefully for the next Revision, perhaps there could be a back-to-back because... If you're interested in playing on real hardware, because in 2019 we had a live set. It was Mayer and me were playing on the Amigas, and it was a little set, but quite nice, because people were raving mad at 2:00 in the morning. That was awesome, and so could you imagine doing a back-to-back set perhaps on real Amigas?
Absolutely. I'm really into it, and still a lot. And nowadays, I'm more focusing on Remute live sets, live concerts, but a back-to-back Amiga DJ set with my favorite mods. I'm always into it. Always.
So we have this recorded, mates.
No, will we leave it in when it's edited? That's the question.
I will cut it off for me. It's just from my mobile. Hey, look what he said.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, that was the positive side of it. Normally, we have to explain who we are and why we want to talk to somebody. But in this case, you were like, "Oh, I know Scene World. I'm reading your stuff." Yeah.
I'm following your stuff like for several years now, and yeah, very interesting. And so I'm very happy to be here and talk to you. Thanks.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you are very how to say? You are very flexible in what you do. You know, different platforms, different aspects. And you are very focused on detail, it appears to me, you know. I mean, even thinking about the quality of the components of the PCB, and so, that's really going down to a detail that normally a musician, you know, wouldn't care about, you know, like.
Right. I think I wouldn't call myself a musician anymore. I think I prefer the term music programmer, because it really fits more into the stuff I'm doing, because I also have to take care of the technical aspects, like putting the code together and taking care of the PCBs and stuff like that. And I think when you make electronic music this way, you really have to focusing on more things than just on the music. You have to, as I said, you have to make sure that all pieces of the puzzle fit together. Yeah.
Well, it's even crazy to think about it, that this thing retro is big enough to even cause scandals, like destroying consoles over a longer time and so on. I mean, that even somebody cared to go down to this level and try to measure what voltage is going into the system by a cartridge and so on. Why would I do that? I'm happy enough that it runs, But somebody felt the urge of going down to the component level and have a deeper look in what's happening inside, So
everybody should feel free to do whatever he wants or she wants, and I think it's interesting that people are going into detail, of course, and it's also very interesting to see that the retro scene is getting quite huge these days. It's not just a small thing anymore. It's yeah. I think your magazine is called Scene World. It's really a scene world today, and it's not just a scene village. It's a scene world.
Scene village, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's even a scene universe today. It's got really big.
Yeah, and it's growing bigger. I mean, I think it was 3 years ago when somebody reverse engineered this the CD interface of the Saturn. Yeah, the Sega Saturn. Now you can even produce third-party games, maybe albums too, for the Sega Saturn because somebody felt the urge to reverse engineer the CD communication protocol. Because his CD drive was broken and he couldn't get a replacement, even not in Japan, So, wow.
It's a user called Dr. Abrasive, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yes. He even traveled to Japan trying to get a new drive.
Awesome thing. Because the Sega Saturn is really a kind of programming mystery. And I think the developers back then were really overwhelmed by the dual-core architecture of the system and had some massive problems developing games for it. But having this re-engineered makes it really interesting. I really hope there will be a kind of Saturn clone console like the Mega SG or the Super NT, stuff like Analog is doing. And I really like the stuff from Analog because these are not clone consoles. These are reverse engineered pieces of technology, and it's very fascinating.
I know, yeah. Interestingly, they even go this far and really fixing their firmware when new aftermarket cartridges are released that don't run. They even spend the time in fixing that because one game doesn't work. I mean, it took half a year for them to fix it, but they did it.
But they did it. They did it finally, and I think it's pretty amazing. And I own a Mega SG, and I think, especially for the sound, I think it's the best Mega Drive you can have for sound because it's really high quality, and you can also make some tweakings on the virtual sound chip, and it's very fascinating. And
do you actually know why the sound emulation and chips are so weird on the Mega Drive?
Yeah, I think it's because they were using quite different revisions of the sound chip in the various Mega Drive models. I think the Model 1 had the kind of best sound chip from Yamaha. The Model 2 was very crappy, and I think the Model 3, which was US exclusive, wasn't that good either. I think the problem with the sound chip is it's pretty hard to emulate because FM synthesis is a very complex thing, and but I think they did it quite right with the Mega SG.
Yeah, we once spoke to Stefano Arnold from Tectoy in Brazil, and when they did the limited edition 2017 of the Mega Drive for the Brazilian market, they actually had to re-engineer a Yamaha clone because Yamaha wouldn't help and wouldn't have any units left and wouldn't produce the sound chips anymore. So For some reason, information about the Yamaha sound chip in the Mega Drive is very rare.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. That's probably a quite serious issue here, and a lot of emulators are not that good when it comes to sound. I think also the official Mega Drive Mini wasn't perfect in terms of sound, and I once tried to make the Techno-Optimistic run on it, but it failed to work because I think the sound driver just hangs, and I think the problem is that FM synthesis is quite hard to emulate, and yeah.
Maybe somebody should make a Kickstarter for Yamaha to reproduce them, you know?
Yeah.
But actually, I would like to have some more VSTs using these sounds nowadays. Last week we had an interview with Mike Clark, actually, who is a veteran in video game music for the Commodore 64 and the Amiga, actually, and he did a VST called Insidious for the Reactor plugin from Native Instruments, and we had a talk to him, and actually I was excited for also this look for perfection in it, because he had this thing going for how do you say, for nothing, for no money, and
profit,
it was it was usable, but it only was 95% of the perfection, and he really worked hard the last years for achieving really actual sounding VST with both chips for the C64. This is actually amazing. It's the 6581 and the 8580. So, and I would like to have some more stuff like this from Sega or Super Nintendo for the PC. Actually, there are things, but they are just sounding like. It's not the thing.
Yeah. You know, the main problem is, I mean, we are doing interviews and stuff. When the SNES Mini and the NES Mini was released, Nintendo wouldn't talk about it on any media. No interviews, nothing. They are just cashing on the retro scene, but they are not talking to the retro scene.
Yeah.
And Sega, on the other hand, we had in the podcast and interviewed them when it was Sonic Mania was released. So I guess that's also a problem. The different handling of the retro community as a company. And I don't know what the attitude from Yamaha is, if they even would bother to think about redoing their Yamaha sound chips. Probably rather not.
If there's a market for it, they might.
Well, there is a market for it, but probably they're not even considering looking into it.
Yeah, interesting. I think Yamaha did something. He made some new editions of their classic synthesizers. I think it's called Reface, Yamaha Reface.
Okay.
I think they made a new version of the DX, of the Yamaha DX7.
Mm-hmm.
That was a famous one, yeah.
Yeah, repackaged version in a very small keyboard, and I think some companies are quite aware that they are pretty popular in the retro scene. Like, let's say Roland, they also make stuff from their old machines, and they are rebranding it and re-releasing it again. And I think it would be a good thing for every company to be aware that they are popular amongst the retro scene, and it would be a lost market to not be aware of it.
Yeah.
I mean, as we mentioned, the modern consoles. When you take a look at the PlayStation Mini, that was a total disaster.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were aware, but they didn't do good enough.
Yeah, I think it's quite a mystery, because I think such a huge company like Sony, they made such a half-assed product like the PlayStation. It's unbelievable. How can they do this? I think there were millions invested in this, and then they come up with something totally buggy and shit like this. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, there's GTA on it, and in the menu, when you select an item from the menu, the select sound is just constantly hanging and looping. And it was like, how did they do quality control and somebody not noticing that, you know?
They didn't. They just didn't probably. Probably they slapped it on the market and were like, oh, we have Nintendo. They're making millions on retro. Let's make millions too, and we don't care. Yeah.
But as we know nowadays, Nintendo did it easier. They just copied or downloaded pirated ROMs and slapped it on the machine. They even didn't care. They even didn't care to remove the cracker code.
Weren't they?
Well,
No, they weren't. Yeah.
I think probably they were probably in a hurry or something like that, and like, oh, we don't have the ROM file. What should we do? Oh, okay, let's download it on EMU file.
Yeah, that's essentially what they did. Yeah.
Nintendo. We are talking of Nintendo,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah, we are
Yes.
talking about Nintendo. Yeah.
We are talking about the big N who
Yeah,
are raving and raging about a C64 clone of Mario.
Uh-huh.
I know.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Okay.
First, they took the download side of the ROM files down, and then they used what was on the,
Yeah, they used
the
them.
sides and put it, you know. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, probably they just told the programmer jump in this location on the memory, so the gamers or the customers don't see that it's a pirate.
Well, the
version,
64 Mini when that came out, it had the same issues where they were just jumping into sections of ROM. They were basically just doing a capture of the game and throwing it on there.
Exactly. Yes.
And we
yes.
noticed that early on.
So when you start the game, the intro music,
Yeah, it's
or
already
the
going.
title screen
Yeah,
music would start in the middle.
yeah, yeah. Because they essentially, like you got like a Super Snapshot cartridge over there where you can like freeze the game and save it. And that's exactly what they did. They froze the game, saved the ROM, and stuck it in there. And yeah, so you start up, everything's right where you left off, right where you froze it, right in the middle of the intro or something.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think these retro consoles were all probably a bit lazy. I think I think most of these retro mini consoles seem to me like easy cash grab for
Oh yeah.
the companies. And well, if I would be a company, I would probably do it too, because it's it's a quite safe thing, and let's cash in. All right, why not? But I would probably put some more effort in it. Like, for example, make cartridges run on it. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not make a Super Nintendo Mini with a shape to have an actual cartridge run on it? I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, because that would require extra development. You look at something like the Mega 65. They've been developing this thing for years because they've got to go through the whole process of reverse engineering the chips and rebuilding the entire architecture to run a cartridge and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas
I
the
think
other way,
it's
you could just make an emulator.
But I think it would make the thing much more interesting to real retro fans, not only some hipster retro fans. Mainstream retro fans, let's call it. I think it would make it more valuable for everyone when they put a little bit more effort in it, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did just see a video where they were trying to get a floppy drive to work on a 64 Mini, or the 64. Maybe there was the full size one.
The Maxi.
Yeah.
Oh, take care.
Which was,
So did they achieve it with the floppy drive?
I
or is
think
it just
they kind of got it. They were using it through the USB port, and they were rigging up a thing. I don't know if they were actually successful because I didn't watch the whole video, but they were working on it. They were trying to see if they could get an actual floppy to function on it. But I mean, that's beyond the technical know-how of most people that are going to get these things.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, sure.
It's true. The normal John Q. Public layman will probably not notice that the game music starts in the beginning, or that it's a crack
Or they won't care.
of the game he used to know, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Right.
On the upside, it does bring in more a bigger audience because now you've got people that are using this as just they're getting to play a quick game or two. But now, oh hey, we might be able to. There's new stuff being produced, so we can actually download that and stick it on a USB drive and play it.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
does
it's very
does
interesting.
increase the audience for developers to actually point to, but otherwise,
Really interesting that stuff like the C64. I think the C64 Mini was also available at the German discounter Lidl. And,
Yeah.
it's quite fascinating to see that stuff like this ends up in a discounter supermarket. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Get your potatoes, be a good German, and your kraut and your sausage and a little C64 Mini, you know, for the kids. You know,
it's it. Yeah.
next to the Kinder Surprise egg.
Just
you know?
like selling at Aldi.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was available at Aldi too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
it's interesting. It's interesting. All right.
Maybe I should try to release my music also at Aldi or Penny or maybe Super Nintendo cartridges at where the Kinderüberraschung is.
Yeah.
Maybe. Why not?
Yeah.
Nice.
I would like that.
Wow. So we not only spoke today a lot about music, but also about cartridges, floppy disks, voltage, fires, whatever.
It's a technical journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
You probably didn't know what you would yourself get into when you decided to support cartridge releases and stuff.
Definitely. There were many issues where I didn't dream of them before, and there were times where the whole process got very stressy and very exhausting, and especially when it comes down to bug fixing. And there were many times in the project where some bugs were so present and they were so merciless that we were just about to quit the project, but
Really?
fortunately we did.
Oh.
Yeah. There were, especially with the end of the project, the Super Nintendo album. There was, I think, there was one track that was constantly skipping, for whatever reason, and always skipping at the same second, and we were very desperate to get the bug fixed, but I think it took days to fix it, and it was very brutal.
Well, you could have said it's emulating a record player, and that's why it's
Yeah,
skipping
yeah.
that part all the time, you know?
Yeah, you gotta smack it so it goes back on the track.
It was skipping, and then it was ending, it was hanging, and it was bad. And it was a very bad time in the project. But in the end, we really were happy to get things done. And I really have to say that also the coder, MoLife, who is also from the scene, did an awesome job. And he's so young, and he's so talented. And I was so happy to work with him. And it really turned out pretty good in the end.
I was young, but not talented.
MoLife is definitely really young and really talented. And it's awesome that I don't know how young he is. I think 19 or something like that. When you have this in mind, he is such a good developer for the Super Nintendo, and I think the time when the Super Nintendo was big, he wasn't even born, and that really freaked me out. And it's so awesome. So awesome that such a young developer is so much into an old system, and wow.
Yeah, I know somebody in the scene who is into repairing CRT monitors and TVs, and he's in his 20s. So,
Awesome.
so well, there is a community of youngsters being backward interested, you know?
Yeah, that's really interesting that the young people are interested in such old things. Very cool. That's all I have to say. Very cool.
Well, when we are not anymore, they are the ones we have to rely on in
Really?
a point of time, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So where can people go to find your stuff?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course they can find my stuff on Bandcamp. They just have to type remute.bandcamp.com. There you can find actually all my albums, either in digital formats or also in physical formats. Some are sold out right now. Some will get repressed or reprinted
As we
one
just
day.
learned today.
Some will not. But if you want to buy some stuff, check out remute.bandcamp.com. And you can also buy it on Evil Amazon, of course. Yeah. But
Evil Amazon. Okay.
but I think better go to Bandcamp.
Ah.
Okay.
Ah.
We'll put a link to
Interesting.
everything in the podcast
Interesting.
description so people can go there and check it out.
Before we end, as you say, Evil Amazon. There was this game for the Super Nintendo like 2 years ago, Unholy Knights. That was the first commercial game since 20 years, and
Yeah.
it was exclusively shipped by Amazon USA at some point, and
Yeah.
they couldn't get enough. They couldn't get enough copies fast enough to send it out. So actually, I was talking to Amazon USA on the phone, like, I ordered this 10 weeks ago. Where is my order? And they told me we didn't calculate that we would sell so many units on a beat 'em up game made by old SNK dudes, you know, for Super Nintendo, you know. So
Yeah.
even Amazon was totally overwhelmed with the success of such a game.
Right. I think, joke aside, I think Amazon is, of course, also pretty. It's a very important distributor of my stuff, and of course, a lot of stuff gets sold by Amazon, and it's also fascinating to see that also quite huge corporations like Amazon are into the retro stuff these days. I think it got so important that even corporations like Amazon care for it, and it's a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
I wonder how this did happen. You know, like I'm a retro developer. Would you like to exclusively distribute my game when it's done? I wonder what happened. What happened there? But
Yeah, I think Amazon has probably quite good management, who is also pretty much into the gaming scene, and who are very open towards gaming trends. And I think they are seeking out for many opportunities, and I think they are quite cooperative. Yeah, I think so.
nice. Okay, was nice, really.
Yeah, that's
I
fun.
learned a lot more than I thought I would today.
It's nice. It's nice. Cool. So,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having me here. See you soon. Talk soon. All right.
Sure.
Okay,
Keep
indeed.
in
Thank you very
touch. And good night.
Yes, thank you for
Bye-bye.
sitting. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah.